6 3DSs, but I only have one copy. Why the hell not? Let's go over each of the 3DS models. I've done this with most of these 3DS systems separately, but might as well talk about them all in just one flat go. Because this is pretty wild, you know, for one of Nintendo's lower selling handhelds, like it did fine, around 80 million units sold, but you know, compare that to the Game Boy and Nintendo DS line. For selling lower, you'd expect them to, you know, not do 6 whole goddamn variants. But here we are. And with the 3DS's redesigns, you know, you can kind of tell why they did each and every one. You know, there are exceptions. But let's go over all of the Nintendo 3DSs and what each brought to the table, and maybe talk about, hey, which one is the definitive one and which one is the way to stay the hell away from. Starting things off with the original 3DS, launching in early 2011. This thing felt like it was designed with the intention of getting redesigned at one point. Absolutely everybody was like, all right, it's a little chunky, a little funky looking. When is the new model coming out? I remember a consistent talking point at the beginning of the 3DS's life is talking about a Nintendo 3DS Lite, much like how the DS had the DS Lite. You know, just the idea of something that's a little sleeker, a little sexier, a little lighter, something you could throw in your pocket, whip out on the bus, and not be embarrassed to shit. This was a color that released a couple months later into the system's life, but you originally got Cosmo Black and Aqua Blue at the launch of the 3DS. You know, back then, I was definitely like, oh, black all the way. Nowadays, I'd probably go with blue. But even then, with all of the unique colors the original 3DS got, it's a little unfortunate that so much of it is kind of like taken away by the fact that the top screen is pretty much always black. I believe the reason behind that is that it frames the 3D of the screen like better, like it just makes the visuals pop a little more. And you know what? I can definitely understand that. You know, as the 3D effect did improve over time with the 3DS, with stuff like the new 3DS and new 3DS XL, I do find the original system, as flawed as the 3D may be, there's something about it that just feels a little more substantial with this system. I don't know how else to describe it. 3D slider is just right here, and it's definitely a little looser than other systems, especially the new 3DS line of systems. You know, there's kind of a satisfying click to turning on and off the 3D. The headphone jack being in the middle was always a very peculiar design choice in my opinion. Kind of stunk because I was like the king of cheap ass headphones from the dollar store back when I was playing the 3DS in 2011. Basically to the point like I would run these headphones dry where like I would have to like be jamming my palm into the cord in the headphone jack to make it work properly. So with the 3DS, I couldn't really do that as well. You know, it has to be on the side, so then when I'm playing, I can just be jamming my damn palm into the headphone jack. All the buttons feel fine. They just feel a little plasticky, a little hard, a little clicky. 100% a perfectly functional feeling handheld. It's just not the most comfortable, but it's not like it's uncomfortable. I'd say the only time it gets really uncomfortable is when you're playing a game on the 3DS that uses literally every single button constantly. I remember playing Metroid Samus Returns on this thing, and the fact that you have to use, you know, the shoulder buttons constantly along with everything else, yeah, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to play a game like that on here. For something like Mario 3D Land or something just off the top of my head where you might use the shoulder button to crouch or just do a long jump really quickly, you know, it's perfectly fine. But when you're constantly jamming on these damn shoulder buttons and you have to use like all these other buttons and the D-pad and the circle pad all at once, it becomes a bit much on this original device. But hey, look at that, we have the circle pad, which was a big welcome change on Nintendo systems. I love the feel of the circle pad, you know, you get some analog movement on a handheld for once with Nintendo. Definitely leagues better than that damn stick on the PSP. And even by comparison, you know, with the 3DS's main competitor, the PS Vita, the sticks on that, while they are, you know, actual analog sticks, I don't know, I do really like the feeling of the circle pad on the 3DS. It just feels very smooth, very comfortable. I think this is a great solution to analog 3D movement on a DS-type system. Now, what was really weird about circle pads is that, you know, when they first revealed the Wii U at E3 2011, that version of the Wii U gamepad used circle pads instead of analog sticks. I don't think we've ever gotten an answer for why. Maybe because the 3DS just launched in 2011, so they just had a bunch of circle pads lying around. Even though the circle pads on the Wii U controller's prototype were definitely not the same types of circle pads. I don't know. Start and select and home buttons are kind of in this weird, like, it's like they're under bed covers or something. I don't know. It's like you're popping a zit whenever you're pressing any of these down. SD card on the side, this is very similar to how things worked with the DSi and DSi XL. You know, nothing crazy with that. But you want to know what is crazy? The stylus in this position. Why? I will give them this. This is probably the closest we've ever gotten to a stylus that is kind of in favor of left-handed users right here. Yeah, good for you guys. It pisses me off, but good for you guys. I hated this when I was a kid back in 2011. But you can tell they were obviously kind of like really pressed for space on like where the hell to put the stylus. Because what they ended up actually doing was creating the telescopic stylus. So it's this short, so then it'd fit in the system. But when you take it out, look at this. Definitely the most premium Nintendo stylus we've gotten thus far. I mean, well, we're comparing like plastic chisels at this point, but still. Dumbo stuff like this makes the original 3DS feel a lot more premium of a device. For example, they gave it this glittery shine. Why the hell not? I do definitely have a soft spot for this design, though it looks like what? It's got like a muffin top. You have a physical wireless switch, basically, so then you can turn on and off Wi-Fi whenever you want. Okay, that's fine, but it's just like what the hell else has like an immediate switch to have you turn internet on or off? This is very clearly something that you can just have baked into the software. Makes it so then the original 3DS just has all these constant like lights and buttons flickering at all times. You have the 3D effect light, you have the street pass light, you have the wireless light, then you have the power on light and the charging light. Now, this original 3DS I have here is actually modded for capture cards. This is generally what most of them look like. You have this big old box at the bottom here. Now, I will definitely say the better way to go about that is with the new 3DS XL models. See, they don't have to do nearly as much with these ones. I mean, all this has is like a USB-C port drilled into here. Other than that, like, yeah, you're golden. But I bring this up because this kind of reminds me of some of the old school battery expanders released back then. Like, they had like a Nyko battery expander for the 3DS, where it kind of, you know, you have to unscrew the bottom of the 3DS and replace it with something that kind of looks like this, because the battery life of the original 3DS was putrid. Yeah, like 3 to 5 hours. That is ridiculous. Now, of course, a lot of that is contingent on a lot, you know, if you're blasting 3D or whatever, if the screen brightness is all the way up, if the internet's on, which is probably why they were like, oh, the battery is so god-awful on this, might as well give them an immediate switch to just turn it off. But yeah, that was definitely kind of a tough pill to swallow with this. This guy originally launched at $250. Battery life was god-awful, but hey, at the very least in the package, you got a lot of junk. This box is pretty damn huge, and inside, you get like a fair amount of little goodies. Firstly, this was when literally like, look at this. The operations manual is so damn thick, and on top of that, they give you like a billion quick start guides. You get your AR cards in here, which, you know, that was a big thing. No matter what 3DS you got, you always got AR cards with it. They eventually got rid of like a bunch of other junk that they originally included. Hell, even the charger. But thank Christ they kept including the AR cards. You get your 3DS, the charger, and the 3DS charging cradle. I gotta be honest, I'm not really sure why they included the 3DS charging cradle. That seems like a very optional accessory. But hey, I won't complain. I kind of like the 3DS charging cradle. I guess it makes it a little easier to sleep at night that you can just throw your 3DS on a cradle. You don't have to worry about like going out of your way to charge it nearly as much. Because it is very likely the next day, if you pick up your 3DS and you did not charge it overnight, it will be completely dead. The original 3DS design, it's fine. Anybody that compares it to like the original Nintendo DS design, I think they are like apt. Like, have you played with the original DS? That thing sucks ass. I love it. You know, like I love the look of it and everything. It's funny. It's a funny little guy. But that thing is god-awful. The original 3DS, I mean, like, yeah, I mean, like, you know, you can look at this design like it's a little weird, little layer cake type design. But you know what? It's iconic. I think out of all the 3DS units, this one has some of the most personality. But of course, the only thing anybody could ever talk about with this thing is how, oh my god, there's no second circle pad. How is the 3DS ever going to compete against the PlayStation Vita with 2 whole analogs? It's the exact same thing as like the DS versus the PSP. Why the hell did this whole thing repeat again, where people were pretty sure that the PS Vita was gonna win? I'm like, the 2 analog sticks was that big of a sticking point? No, I got to the point that Nintendo had to put out the Circle Pad Pro to shut people up, and guess how many games supported it? None! Actually, I'd say like a good couple dozen. But a lot of those games ended up releasing after Nintendo incorporated a Circle Pad Pro like alternative with the new 3DS line of systems. You know what? I'm gonna rank all of these models. The original 3DS model, I have a fondness for it. I have a ton of nostalgia with this design. It is not my preferred 3DS by a long shot, but at least like looking at it, I do get some of my warmest fuzzies. From a biased perspective, I might give it like a 7 out of 10. From an unbiased perspective, I'd give it like a 5.5 to a 6. And that's not considering the library of games or anything. You know, the 3DS library is great. There's so many great titles that released on this handheld. When it comes to, you know, playing on it, I'm tired of playing on this stupid ass thing. Like you've already seen, this unit was modded for capture. And I feel like a lot of my problems do stem from what I've had to use to capture gameplay from a 3DS for extended periods of time. My original capture 3DS was a new 2DS XL, and that did the job until it didn't. It broke, so I had to find this rat 2DS unit that was a capture unit. I hated that thing. It was awful. But you know what I did? I bought a new inbox flame red 3DS. That's what this guy is. And I sent this in to get modded. And yeah, it runs perfectly. But like I said, you know, like after playing on this for extended periods of time, you know, I'm pretty tired of it. Especially the screen size. The screen size, I'm like, man, like this really made me appreciate the XL systems even more. Because this right here is what followed after the original 3DS, the Nintendo 3DS XL. All right, you ready for this? Jesus. There's something about the screen size, man, that just seems like so jumbo. I mean, that's the whole point. It's a 3DS XL, but it still kind of catches me off guard. I saved up for this one. I remember just saving up throughout the entire summer of 2012. I had like $200. I don't even think I was saving up specifically for the 3DS XL. I just had $200 and I thought, hey, why the hell not? I think I deserve to treat myself. I was not very smart with my money. I would have told myself these days, it's just like, yeah, the 3DS XL feels nicer to use, but it's like, you already have a 3DS, just use that. Use that $200 for like a separate gaming system or something. No, I bought this for $200. So the original 3DS cost $250 at launch. Then they dropped the price after they realized that was a dumb mistake. Later retailed for $170. So this was a $30 increase from the original 3DS's price point at that moment in time. And Nintendo was definitely positioning the 3DS XL pretty much as like the professional version of the 3DS, which made for an interesting difference between this and the Nintendo DSi XL, because the Nintendo DSi XL was marketed towards my grandfather. That was like, oh, here's an XL for your old ass eyes who can't see anything anymore. And the 3DS XL was like, this is an XL because, oh my God, your hands are so big. Oh my gosh. I always got a little annoyed by pretty much most of the 3DS XL video reviews I would see from people on YouTube because they all pretty much went like this. You know, I always really liked the 3DS, but I decided I would get this because, you know, I got big hands, you know, and when you got big hands, you need something. They always worded it like that. You know, I got big hands, you know, so it's just like, this is just what you need when you got big hands. I'm like, stop bragging. I don't even know if I have big hands. I just know this feels better in my hands. The 3DS XL was definitely an upgrade in terms of ergonomics from the original 3DS, though I will say everything does feel a little cheaper. Feels like they were cost cutting with a lot of certain things. I mean, like, just look at the 3D slider on this in comparison to the original 3DS. How this one, they have a 3D light pop up that tells you if something's 3D or not. This one, it's chiseled into the plastic. But you know what? I will say they fixed the stylus placement. It's no longer telescopic, boo, but it's pretty damn long, so, you know, it'll do. They definitely tried to make a couple of upgrades here and there to make up for the fact that this thing was $30 more expensive, and yet, you know, it does feel a little cheaper. So instead of a 2GB SD card, which came bundled with the original 3DS, this originally came with a 4GB SD card, but I threw it out in a fit of rage, apparently. Ooh, 4 gigs compared to 2 gigs. That's insane. You know what else is insane? It lasts for like 30 extra minutes battery life-wise. Damn. I feel like that battery life change is just kind of based on the fact that, like, there's more space now, so the battery is in fact bigger, but like 30 extra minutes, oh boy. I do like the feel of the buttons much better here. It just does feel a bit more substantial, especially the start, home, and select buttons. I know people were definitely bummed by the lack of a circle pad here, but hey, they did release a 3DS Circle Pad Pro, so that solves everything. But looking back at this wasn't necessarily much of a redesign, as it was kind of just a bigger 3DS, but it still definitely had some redesign tendencies. I'd say it was definitely like more redesigned than the DSi XL was from the original DSi. But when it comes to fixing a bunch of stuff with the 3DS, I don't really know how much it fixed. Rather, it did some things differently, and a lot of those things were slightly better than the original 3DS. I do really like how they got rid of the glossy, plasticky kind of finish that the original 3DS had. For a good chunk of the designs with this, the whole inside is black, with the only color part being the bit outside. This in North America launched right alongside New Super Mario Bros. 2 and had red and blue colors. And man, I will say, these colors definitely pop, especially in person. They do look very nice, not really like weird, like glittery prom dresses like the 3DS does. I think the 3DS XL was an improvement from the original 3DS in pretty much every way. My own major problem with it kind of comes down to like, oh yeah, it feels a little cheaper, but that cheapness doesn't really get in the way of anything. It just kind of felt nice to open up the original 3DS and feel like, damn, this is an experience. You open up a 3DS XL and you're like, oh, yep, I'm playing 3DS today. What I'm trying to say is they got rid of the charging cradle in the 3DS XL box. I would give the 3DS XL unbiased like a 7 out of 10. With bias, like nostalgia-wise, because, you know, I saved up my hard-earned money to get this, I would give it like a 7.5 out of 10. I don't hold like this in nearly as high regards as the original 3DS because this was so damn cool when it came out. This was more so like, all right, I already know the 3DS. I just kind of want like a more comfortable 3DS. So when it comes down to it, I open up this and I'm like, oh man, I have so many great memories of playing this when it was brand new. And then I open this up and I just think, damn, that feels a lot better. But still, 170 bucks, 200 bucks. Man, we need something a little cheaper. Well, I'm an asshole. This is the 2DS, something that many consider a joke. This released in 2013, so we're pretty much like a brand new 3DS model every single year at this point. It's a little wild, but yeah, I mean, like, this was the 3DS model released in 2013, launched right alongside Pokemon X and Y. And it cost $130. So yeah, this feels kind of like a little science experiment sometimes. Just the fact that, like, oh yeah, you know, they could have very easily just made like a cheaper 3DS without the 3D display. But no, they went for a completely different design with this. And it all kind of makes sense. You know, if you're gonna go for like the cheapest possible 3DS you can do, you might as well do something like way different, so then you can keep most of the 3DS units in production because they all kind of serve a different purpose. This one serves the purpose of freak. The 3DS has always had like some controversies surrounding the 3D display. I mean, pretty much like everything the 3DS touched needed to have like a, you know, hey, the 3D display is only meant for people, you know, like age 7 and up. And that was a definite problem considering Nintendo has always been about family-friendly fun, except for anybody under 7. And while it is pretty damn easy to just turn the 3D display off and just tell your kid like, hey, just don't look at that. I mean, they're a kid. They're gonna flick that 3D display up. They don't give a damn. Is it actually safe for their vision? Is it safe to drink milk 2 days past the expiration date? Probably, but it doesn't matter because you need these legal restrictions in place just to save your ass. But I am confident that everything is okay. If I was 5, I would damn well look at a 3D display because I just drank 2-day-old expired milk and I'm perfectly fine. Okay, fine, maybe the 2DS needed to exist for young children. Just kind of feels like this all created the perfect storm. So the 3DS needs to have this, oh, only for kids 7 and above on all of its packaging. So, okay, well, let's remove the 3D, which also reduces the price. Well, screw, we're making something that kids can use, that's cheaper, so parents will really like that. We might as well, like, get rid of anything else that has always been a problem with kids. Oh, the hinge, the 3DS hinge. Kids like eat those for fucking breakfast. They stomp on them, break them all the time. So let's create a tablet-like 3DS. It all makes all the sense in the world. Doesn't mean I like using it. I do like elements of the 2DS. I think the design is incredibly smart. I think it makes a lot of sense. I don't like using these to play video games. I've heard many people claim this is like their most comfortable 3DS. They love using this thing. I'm not one of those people. I find that the shoulder buttons are a little too high up for my liking. I do like the feel of the buttons. The buttons are incredibly soft. What's really interesting is even with the lack of 3D, it still has 3D cameras. Another thing that everybody loved to note back in 2013 when this came out was a little fun fact Nintendo gave is the fact that this right here is just one big screen. They just put a divider in the middle. I guess it was a way to save cost. I don't know. You have a sleep switch down here since you can't just shut the 3DS, you know, you have to flick this on to put it in sleep mode. Yeah, I do kind of find the 2DS to be a neat little device. And it makes a lot of sense as a budget purchase, especially when like, hey, you know, like a 3DS game might come out and you just really want to play that, but you don't really want to, you know, invest in a whole ass system just for one game. I want to play Animal Crossing, and I know I'm only going to play Animal Crossing. Well, 2DS is the perfect pickup for you, especially because $130 wasn't even the lowest that it got. It just kept on going down and down and down to the point where its final price point for the last couple of years of the 3DS's life was $80, and that came with a game. Like 2DS bundles for $80 also came with like Mario Kart 7. That was an insane steal, especially considering like all the other stuff you could pick up on like the 3DS eShop and the fact this played DS games and everything. Like that was incredible. The problem is I hate playing on it. Well, maybe not hate, it's just, it's not really for me. It's one of these things where like, I don't like when there's nothing really for my hands to do on any of these things. Stylus is at the very least on the right side. It's also a very long stylus, so that is awesome. Bias-wise, like nostalgia-wise, I do have nostalgia for this design because I remember that fateful day when I saw all of this news online that the 2DS was a thing. Nintendo announced the 2DS on the same day they announced the Wii U Deluxe set was getting a big price drop to $299. I definitely have like a ton of nostalgia for that 2013 era Wii U and 3DS generation. So, you know, I look back at the 2DS kind of fondly in that respect. I don't look at it and go like, oh, damn, like I have memories of this thing. I'd say with bias, I'd give it a 5 out of 10. Without bias, probably a 4. Like, I don't really like this, but I know a lot of other people do, so I can't really be like, oh my god, this is the worst thing in the world. I don't really care for it, but I do like the feeling of the buttons. But also, like, there's no point to this anymore, other than if you genuinely do find it comfortable. At least back in its heyday, you know, hey, this was the cheapest 3DS option, so you have that there. Nowadays, I guess it's still pretty cheap, but like, at this point, like, why not just get an original model 3DS or a 3DS XL or something? Oh, it's because these exist. And we got the new 3DS and new 3DS XL. My god. Yeah, I don't know who the hell ever signed off on these names. I mean, like, okay, like what would you name them? These are fundamentally like the DSi of the Nintendo 3DS family of systems. Pretty much, you know, they are still 3DS units, but, you know, it's kind of taking the 3DS and kind of bringing it a little more up to code with modern times. This design does feel very refined. It feels like, you know, like, hey, let's take the 3DS and let's just refine every little bit of it. And looking at it all, like, yeah, it's still the 3DS, but we got this little guy. What's the deal with this? Well, this is your C stick. It's a circle pad. It's not a circle pad. I am still a little baffled by this thing's existence. You know, like, I've always thought, like, wouldn't it make sense if you're gonna do a second circle pad, you just take something that looks exactly like this and you put it right here? It's so simple. Why did they do this? I still don't really understand. This works, but that's all I can really say about it. And even then, I wouldn't even really say like it works that well. The C-Stick is pretty much like a touch-sensitive little thumb eraser that you pretty much have to like just put your thumb on and rock it around. It doesn't move like an analog stick. It's pretty much just a touch-sensitive little nub, something that gives you like camera control and that's about it. And it works with Circle Pad Pro compatible games, which, you know, hey, that's nice. It's nice that you have something built in here and you don't have to keep using this giant ass accessory on your 3DS or 3DS XL. Not your 2DS. The 2DS never got a Circle Pad Pro. You ever think about that? I do. It's why I have insomnia. I always find it interesting how like they have this little indent on the hinge of the 3DS, where I'm like, what is this for? Because, you know, I originally thought like it's to give the nub space when you close the system. No, I think it's for your little thumb. What a weird little bastard this is. I mean, it works. It does what you need it to do, I guess. And in addition to this, we also have a second set of shoulder buttons here. We got ZL and ZR. I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't think I've ever really used ZL and ZR in any 3DS game. Pretty much any game that I have that's utilized ZL and ZR, I've played on the original models 3DS. Yeah, I don't think I've really ever used these things. So they pretty much just swapped the placement of a bunch of things. For starters, the volume switch is up here. I don't really know why. I mean, like, it's kind of fun because you kind of have symmetry with the 3D display and the, you know, the volume switch, you know? That's kind of neat. There's nothing on the sides anymore, so they got rid of the wireless switch. I also got rid of the SD card slot because now the new 3DS and new 3DS XL use micro SD cards. And the only way you can access those is by unscrewing the back and ripping the back off. It's the worst thing about this. It's not fun. It is not a pleasurable experience to change microSD cards on a new 3DS system. Now, let's be fair here. You're only really gonna do that once. Like, how often are you really gonna be changing out SD cards? But still, like, ugh. Moved all this stuff around, removed stuff too. Game card slot is right down here. Because I guess, you know, like, hey, you have to make room for the ZL and ZR buttons. And our stylus is down here now. Yes, we are no longer a part of the right-hand stylus master race. Now we're going down here for it now. It's whatever. I mean, this stylus feels a little stubby. How did we get to a point where the 2DS has a longer stylus than the new 3DS XL? Like, this is the big boy system. Feels like I'm complaining a ton about this. Oh yeah, they didn't include an AC adapter either. What the hell, man? This thing is just like problem after problem, just a bunch of nuisances. Well, I mean, like, to be fair, a lot of these things are kind of problems like at the start, you know, when you first pick up a system. After that, you know, yeah, this is kind of like the definitive 3DS. First of all, the big claim to fame with this thing is that it uses eye tracking with the 3D effect and screen. So with the 3DS and 3DS XL, you would have to stare at the 3D screen dead on for the effect to work. If you even shifted it a little bit like that, you know, it would immediately get double vision, much like how it would look if you were watching a 3D movie at the movie theater without the glasses on. So the fact that, like, you have to stay perfectly still with a handheld device, like, yeah, you were always gonna have some problems jostling things around. Especially when many 3DS games utilize the gyroscope, like moving it around and stuff. Well, the new 3DS and new 3DS XL use eye tracking to make it so then things are a little more stable. They labeled it as super stable 3D. And yeah, you know, it does work, and it does make it a lot more comfortable to play with the 3D on. I usually play with the 3D off. I will say, there's something about the 3D on these screens that just doesn't feel as substantial, like I said, as the original 3DS. It's just, I don't know, like, it just doesn't feel as good. It's still good, it still works, but you know, there's just something about it, man. But hey, I'll take some slightly less impressive 3D if that means that, you know, I can slightly move it just like a centimeter and it still like remains like actually 3D any day over, oh yeah, the 3D is a little more poppy here. But I can't move it this way. In addition, spec-wise, the new 3DS systems are definitely quite a bit better than the original models. Things run a lot smoother, run a lot faster. Back when the eShop was open, it was way quicker to download things. The hardware is quite a bit better to the point where there are a handful of new 3DS exclusive games. Here we go. Who the hell would have ever expected this game, of all games, to be on the 3DS? Xenoblade Chronicles 3D was kind of like the big poster child for new 3DS games. There weren't many. There's only like 4 of them out there, and this was like the only one for a long time. Back when the eShop was up, Super Nintendo games were exclusive to new 3DS systems. So, you know, I mean, like, if you wanted to play Super Nintendo games, they were exclusive to this, which is absolutely ridiculous. There's no reason in hell why the other 3DS systems shouldn't be able to play Super Nintendo games. They just made it exclusive to this thing because they needed to give you a goddamn reason to own one. But just the capability of playing games like this or regular 3DS games with, you know, faster load times, better frame rates, enhanced control with the C-stick and, you know, extra shoulder buttons. Hey, there was a fair amount of reason to own a new 3DS or new 3DS XL. Hell, you had Amiibo support. You could place Amiibo on the bottom screen here and they'd work. And these hit in the fall of 2014 over in Japan and in early 2015 outside of Japan. We got this right here in February, right alongside Majora's Mask 3D, Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate. And pretty much what this did was replace the original 3DS XL and original 3DS. Or it would have. If they actually released the regular new 3DS over here in North America. Yeah, for some reason, when they announced that the new 3DS XL was going to be releasing here in North America, they didn't mention a damn thing about the normal new 3DS, which is interesting considering there's a fair amount unique about the regular size new 3DS. Firstly, design-wise, this one has colored buttons, which is fun. These are based on the Super Famicom controller. You know, over here in North America with the Super Nintendo, we got these purple buttons. But over in Europe and in Japan, they got these, which is really damn cool. The new 3DS XL only has the letters colored that, which is not nearly as fun. But whatever, like the main thing here is the fact that the regular new 3DS uses face plates. You can swap these out, which is really damn cool. One thing that's really annoying here is the fact that the bottom here is the same as the new 3DS XL. You have to get at this with a screwdriver, pry this off, and then you can replace the faceplate. At least on the very top, like, yeah, you can just easily replace the faceplate like that. But that is so damn cool. I love the fact that they offer that. Now, you know, they probably went with the new 3DS XL only because, you know, hey, this is an upgraded system. This is kind of a pro system, the 3DS Pro, if you will. They probably thought, okay, well, you know, the 3DS XL here in North America is kind of our pro version of the original 3DS. If we're gonna do another pro version of the 3DS, we might as well just do the XL. Because if we're gonna do this one, then what, we're gonna have to stock a bunch of faceplates too? We don't want to do that, especially considering those faceplates dig into their special edition 3DS money. At the launch of this thing, not only did it launch with like the red color and the black color, but they had a Majora's Mask design, they had a Monster Hunter 4 design, and you know damn well there are people that probably bought both the Majora's Mask and the Monster Hunter version. That's like what, like $400 down the drain right there. No, but I just found it so weird that like they just didn't even mention the new 3DS when they announced this thing for North America. It was just like a completely like weird, just like it just doesn't even exist. Until it did, because Nintendo just randomly like announced like an Animal Crossing Happy Home Designer bundle later on in 2015 for the regular new 3DS. So this did launch in North America in a couple of different ways. They made a few different bundles here and there. There was a Mario 3D Land bundle. There was a Pokemon 20th Anniversary Red and Blue bundle. There was like a Black Friday one that was like Mario themed. You got like a black one and a white one with that. And the thing is, like, these were consistently at pretty good prices. I bought this Mario 3D Land bundle one, so it came with a white new 3DS, and it came with this Mario Maker faceplate, which I've always really, really loved. And it was $150, like $150 for this super limited, weird version of the new 3DS. And it came bundled with Mario 3D Land. It came pre-installed, and you got two faceplates with it. $150 was always like a really good deal to me. And then in addition, the Black Friday ones cost like $100, $99 a pop. The new 3DS XL was pretty much always $200. You know, this was always kind of like the mainstay 3DS from this point forward. But the new 3DS was always kind of like this thing where it's like it officially released, but also like didn't really. It was a weird thing, which is really unfortunate considering this might be my favorite 3DS. I love the look of this thing. I love just the white look with the colored buttons. I love the fact that you can do all these different faceplates with it. I love it so. But I gotta say, the new 3DS XL is probably the definitive 3DS to me. I would probably give this like an 8.5 out of 10 for like just how everything feels. I know, like, you know, there's a bunch of annoyances with this thing, but honestly, those annoyances pretty much go away once you actually start using it. Bias-wise, I'd give this a 10 out of 10. I love this thing so. Using it, I'd give it like an 8 out of 10. Now, bias-wise, I'd give this one an 8 out of 10. Using it, I'd give an 8.5. What can I say, man? I prefer the XL units. Just using them, holding them, everything just feels just so much better. It's just so much more comfortable to have a little more wiggle room for your hands. But what if I want this XL size, but I want dog shit too? Here we go, friendo. It's the new 2DS XL. So after the new 3DS and 3DS XL launched in 2014 in Japan and 2015 elsewhere, we took 2 years off, and in April of 2017, right after the Nintendo Switch launched, this thing got announced. I'm still confused. This retailed for $150. It's pretty much just this weird ass 3DS system, a new 3DS system. So, it does have the C stick, and you do have the ZL/ZR buttons. It can play your new 3DS exclusive games, and you get the faster processing speeds and all that jazz. You get that all with this. But what you get it all in is a far cheaper package. I don't really care for this thing. It's not that it's bad or anything, it's completely usable. Like, if this is what you're using, more power to you. It does the job. But man, everything just feels so cheap. I don't really care for this design. It's just a little weird. This whole, ridge thing, where it's you have, the Nintendo logo at an angle. It looks like this is some kind of t-shirt tag or something. And the camera's being on the bottom here, and then this one being on the ridge, it's peeking out. And you crack it open, and then, oh my god, it's a smartphone screen. Who cares? It's whatever. Again, it's fine if this is what you're using. It does the job. But I will definitely say, the other 3DS handhelds, I can definitely, understand their place in the 3DS family. This one, I mean, just the name alone, it's just you're adding all of the adjectives together. The new Nintendo 2DS XL. It feels like a joke. And I'm just kind of thinking okay, this is $150. You know what else was $150? This thing. And it was way better. And it had all the features of this and then some outside of the bigger displays. But in my opinion, I'm just tough shit. If you want bigger displays, get a 3DS XL. Nah, this one, it doesn't really feel like they were doing anything that would kind of benefit the consumer. Rather, doing more stuff to benefit Nintendo in the long run in terms of just cutting down costs. Just kind of moving towards the future. Let's create a 3DS that isn't relying on a 3D display, but it can play all of the new 3DS software, and it has the faster processor, all this stuff that just kind of, makes it a little more future-proof. Let's make a 2DS version of that, so then, it saves our ass pretty much. Because, this wasn't really bringing any savings onto the consumer. And it just kind of felt like it was in this weird, middle ground between different 3DSs, to the point where I'm how are you this consumer? You have the 2DS, which was $80 at the time, but no, I want something a little better. Okay, well then, you could potentially get an original 3DS or original 3DS XL. Those would probably cost used $100 or something. No, I want something brand new. It's just okay, well, you can generally find new 3DS models for $100 to $150. This was $99 on Black Friday. No. I want something with bigger screens and no 3D. I don't like the 3D. Okay, well, I was gonna say you should get the new 3DS XL for $200 at that point, but no, okay. Here's the new 2DS XL for $150. Oh my god, perfect! I'd give feel-wise, okay, without any bias, I'd give this a 5 out of 10. I still think the original 2DS is worse, feel-wise. But with bias in mind, I'd give this like a 3. I don't like the 2DS XL much at all. I think this is just kind of a dumb thing. I love that it's a dumb thing, but I think it's a dumb thing. And that's where the 3DS lineage pretty much ended. This was kind of the 3DS to end all 3DSs. Pretty much by the end of the lifespan, it was this and the regular 2DS that were still on store shelves. That's a little sad, especially when the entire system's identity for a bit there was the fact that it was glasses-free 3D and everything. And the 3D was really cool. There were still games near the end of its lifespan that were really taking advantage of the 3D display. I remember stuff like Metroid Samus Returns, damn, the 3D in that game was incredible. But pshaw, 3D is no good anymore. So let's put these out instead. Bleh. I've definitely already said it, but if you need a 3DS, if you want to get the best 3DS you can, Yeah, I would recommend the new 3DS XL. This is just gonna be like the best thing to use. It runs the best, it feels really good. You know, the XL systems in your hands just feel really nice. It feels really good to just access all the buttons and just hold one of these. But what I would say is like my favorite one is the regular new 3DS. I just love how this thing looks, and yeah, it still feels pretty damn good. I just think, you know, like when I play on this, I'm like, oh man, I love this so. And then I play on a 3DS XL and I'm like, I miss the bigger screens. I would say regardless, none of these are necessarily like bad picks or like, oh wow, like why would you use that anymore? I would say like previous Nintendo handhelds, like, you know, the Game Boy line of systems, like the original Game Boy and Game Boy Pocket, all that stuff. I'm like, yeah, those are pretty much just collectibles at this point. Like, it's kind of cool to see how the games play on those again, but you know, I mean, overall, you just get like a Game Boy Advance SP and you're good to go. Same with like the DS line of systems, like the original DS, bleh. But with all the 3DSs, I don't really think any of these are particularly like unplayable or bad. You know, I mean, like I do feel like, you know, like I don't like how this feels, don't really like how this feels. But, you know, still, I'm like, some people do like them. So it's just like, that's just down to personal preference. I think unbiased-wise, all these are perfectly fine ways to play 3DS games, even to this day. But for my money, this one's the best, and this one's my favorite. And, you know, like, it is a close second best. And damn, only the best for the best.